You drift in the dark, far beyond clouds, beyond even the breath of air. There is no sound here, no wind, no sky, only the gentle hum of space around your body. And in front of you, floating slow, unblinking, is the rock. A single asteroid. It does not spin quickly. It does not shine. It simply waits. You are not falling. You are not flying. You are suspended like a thought at the edge of sleep. Your heartbeat slows to match the rhythmless stillness. Everything around you is quiet. You feel small, but not in a frightening way. Small like a whisper. Small like a question waiting to be asked. The asteroid looks rough, scarred, ancient. Its shape is lumpy, like a half-formed thought frozen mid-idea. Its surface is a mix of dark metal and dusty stone. Tones of charcoal, rust, and iron gray, speckled with silver glints. You move closer without effort, drawn not by gravity, but by wonder. This rock does not belong to any planet. It never joined a world. Billions of years ago, when the solar system was still a swirl of dust and heat, this piece did not settle. It stayed free, too small to become a moon, too lonely to become a home. And so it waited, for what it could not know. But still, it waited, spinning slowly, orbiting the sun again and again, in a path older than history. You touch it now, gently. Your fingers, gloved but steady, land softly on its jagged skin. It is cold, colder than anything on Earth. Cold in a way that feels holy. You are the first to touch it. No rain has touched it. No wind has kissed it. Only the sun from far away has lit its edges. Inside this rock are metals that were forged in stars. Nickel, iron, platinum. Atoms born in the death of suns. Each one a relic from before Earth had oceans or sky. You imagine holding a single grain of this dust. It could be older than Earth itself. Older than trees. Older than the word old. It makes you wonder, how many other rocks are out here? How many pieces of the solar system's past still float quietly, unclaimed, unmeasured, unknown? The asteroid is not just metal. It is memory. It remembers the time before time. Not in thoughts, but in structure. The way its atoms locked together in the freezing dark. Before Earth had even formed. You float along its side, slowly tracing the ridges and dips. Craters mark ancient collisions, but even these scars are soft now, worn smooth by millions of orbits. You imagine the collisions as silent meetings, stones greeting each other, then moving apart again. Your eyes close for a moment. There is no fear here, only stillness. The kind of stillness that lets your thoughts stretch out like long shadows. Why does this rock matter? It is not gold, not a jewel, and yet it might hold more value than anything on Earth. Not because of what it can buy, but because of what it can teach. This asteroid is a page from a book, written before planets had names. And yet, you are the first reader. A soft question stirs in your mind. What else waits like this rock? In the dark corners of space? You picture an entire belt of these stones. Millions of them, drifting slowly between Mars and Jupiter. Some the size of mountains. Some no bigger than a pebble. Each one with its own story, its own slow spin through the void. You reach out once more. Your touch is lighter this time, like a goodnight gesture. The rock remains unmoved. It does not need to speak. Its silence is full. Above you, stars shimmer. Around you, emptiness breathes. Then ahead, far ahead, the belt waits. You begin to drift forward, away from the rock. It stays behind, unbothered. As you move, you carry a question with you. If this one stone held such ancient memory, what quiet treasures might wait in the golden belt beyond Mars? You float now not forward, but backward. Not through space, but through time. The asteroid drifts behind you, but its story pulls you inward. To where it began. Before it had form, before it had weight. When it was just dust in a dream. You close your eyes and the stars behind your eyelids begin to glow. You are no longer in silence. You are inside a furnace. Not like fire on Earth, but fire that makes planets. You are inside a star. Not just any star. A massive one, swollen with heat and light. Older than Earth, but young by the universe's measure. Inside it, atoms are crashing together. They fuse, they spark, they reshape. You feel it. Hydrogen becomes helium. Helium becomes carbon. Then oxygen, silicon, sulfur. And finally, deep in the star's burning heart, iron is born. Iron. The end of fire's creation. Because the star cannot make energy from iron. It cannot burn it. And so, when too much iron builds up in its core, the star begins to collapse under its own weight. It folds inward like a dying breath. And then it explodes. You are there, inside the explosion, supernova, brighter than galaxies, louder than thought. A billion suns of energy released in a moment. And with that moment, the heavier elements are born. Nickel, cobalt, platinum, gold. Not made in peace, but in violence. Not gently formed, but flung into existence. By the death of a star, you drift among the debris, not as a body, but as a mind. Particles swirl around you, tiny specks of metal and ash. This is where the asteroid began. Not as a solid thing, but as a scattering of stardust. You watch it cool. Over time, millions of years, the dust begins to gather. Some of it is pulled toward planets. Some burns in atmospheres. But some stays free. It joins with other pieces, drawn together by faint gravity, bonded by silence and slow time, until a rock is born. A small one. Not a planet, not a moon, but enough to carry memory in its mass. That rock becomes the asteroid, the one you touched, a traveler carrying the history of stars. And within it, iron from the heart of a sun, nickel forged in collapse, gold made in explosion. You open your eyes again. You are no longer in fire. You are back in stillness, floating between Mars and Jupiter, among the cold remains of hot beginnings. You look around, and the stars seem quieter now. You understand their silence better. They are not empty. They are full of stories. Full of ash turned to metal. Light turned to memory. You think of Earth. How all its steel and silver, its rings, its rails, its circuits, came from a supernova long before Earth existed. The phone in your pocket, the iron in your blood, the gold in your teeth, all of it, older than time on this planet. You run your fingers slowly over your glove, feeling the material stretched over your hand. The atoms in it might have come from different stars. Your body, your bones, your thoughts, your skin, is a sculpture made of stellar remains. You are not separate from the asteroid. You are not just a visitor. You are family, cousins born of the same fire. In this moment, floating alone, you feel strangely full, as if the space between you and the rock was never empty, just quiet and waiting. You drift onward again, not away from the past, but carrying it gently in your orbit. And ahead, beyond your line of sight, waits the golden belt, a place where memory and metals spin forever. In quiet circles around the sun, you move slowly now past Mars, the red world shrinking behind you like a fading ember. Its dust no longer in your lungs, its silence replaced by something deeper, a new silence, older, wider, almost endless. Ahead of you stretches a region not marked by walls or borders. It is a place made of fragments, of possibilities, of what never became a planet, the asteroid belt. You enter not with speed, but with reverence, like entering a forest at dusk. The light is thinner here, the warmth of the sun is distant, and everything moves with slow certainty. Around you drift millions, perhaps billions, of asters, each one on its own long looping journey around the sun, each one following a quiet, invisible path that began before humans ever looked upward. They do not cluster tightly. They are not a wall of rocks. They are scattered, each separated by vast spaces, each minding its own orbit. But still, together, they form a belt. A band of quiet motion between Mars and Jupiter. You pass near one, then another, then dozens more. Some are shaped like potatoes, others like broken bones or worn tools. Their surfaces shimmer with minerals: iron, nickel, platinum, silicates, even water ice. Locked deep within, you realize this is not a graveyard. This is a vault, a storage of ancient wealth. Not wealth in the way coins clink, but in the way seeds hold forests. Potential, fuel, memory, matter. You glide near a larger one, perhaps 10 kilometers wide. Its surface is streaked with gold-toned veins, thin lines of metallic promise, running like rivers across its skin. Inside it, hundreds of billions of dollars worth of rare metals, more than what has ever been pulled from Earth's crust. But out here, it is untouched, not by law, not by drill, not by war, only by time. You drift along, and more pass beneath you, some dry as bone, others hiding frozen water beneath their dusty shells. Water. You had not thought of that. Out here, water is worth more than gold. Not for drinking, but for life, for fuel, for freedom. A drop of water can become hydrogen and oxygen. Fuel for engines. Air for breath. A chance to keep going. You begin to feel the shape of something new. A future not rooted in soil, but in orbit. A new kind of frontier, not drawn with fences, but mapped by motion and light. And so, no one is here. No cities. No voices. Just the hiss of solar wind. And the gentle turning of stone. You imagine the first mining ships, drifting toward these asteroids. Not with flags or fire, but with code, with precision, with instruments designed to touch without disturbing. You picture robotic limbs, scanning surfaces, slicing samples, melting rock in tiny zero-gravity forges. You see them drawing water from dust, pulling platinum from the silence. And yet, despite the gold, despite the value, you cannot help but feel something sacred here. These asteroids are not dead. They are not ruins. They are pieces of the galaxy's unfinished thoughts. A blueprint of what could have been. A memory that never took the shape of a planet. Your breath slows. Your body relaxes. You let the silence carry you like a gentle tide. And as you float between stones, you wonder, if we begin mining here, if we take what the belt has saved for billions of years, will we do it with care? With humility? Or with hunger? There is time to decide. The belt is patient. You pass another rock, smaller, smoother, and let your gloved hand graze its edge. It vibrates softly, like a tuning fork left out in the cold. It feels like a whisper, not of ownership, but of offering. And so you drift forward, deeper into the golden belt, your thoughts orbiting a quiet new question. How do you mine a place without losing its mystery? You are floating still, but now the quiet is not just a silence. It is a workspace. The asteroid turns slowly beneath you, its shadow stretching across the coldness like a soft veil. There is no horizon, no floor, nothing solid to stand on. Just the rock, and the slow hum of possibility. You think of mining as it is on Earth. Boots crunching gravel, machinery growling, dust rising in the sun. But here, everything is different. Here, you cannot dig. You must dance. The first step is not a shovel. It is a scanner. From miles away, satellites sweep beams across the belt, measuring density, heat, reflectivity. They do not touch. They listen. They search for subtle differences. The way light bounces off a nickel-rich asteroid. The way a shadow deepens if there is frozen water just beneath the crust. These signs, soft and invisible, become maps. You hover near one such rock now. It has been marked, not claimed, but noted for what it holds. A small craft approaches, not loud, not fast, just steady. It carries no miners, only arms, long, Spider-like limbs unfold, each one moving with the grace of thought. They grip the surface gently, tiny pads adjusting to the asteroid's curves. There is no hammer, no drill that screams. Instead, a quiet beam of light. A laser begins to warm the rock, not to burn it, but to loosen its grip, to coax the metal from its stone shell. Another limb reaches forward, sprays a fine mist of gas, and gathers the rising vapor. It cools it into dust, and the dust is saved, bit by bit. Without cracking or crushing, the asteroid offers a portion of itself. You watch this process unfold, as if observing a ceremony. There is no waste, no noise, no broken ground to leave behind. The mining craft moves with care, adjusting its position every few minutes, never disturbing too much, never staying too long. It knows balance. It knows that in zero gravity, even a small mistake can send everything spiraling. Here, mining is not digging. It is whispering. It is convincing the asteroid to share. You look closely at the tools, not made for strength, but for precision. They measure before they move. They learn before they take. There is something beautiful about it, a kind of patience, a kind of respect. The rock continues to spin, unbothered, and the craft continues its work, gathering just enough. You imagine future versions, fleets of them, small, self-guiding harvesters, gently sipping from the belt. Perhaps they will build themselves out of the very metals they collect. Perhaps they will never need to land, just drift. Repeat. And what about the people? You imagine them watching from afar, from control centers orbiting nearby, from research vessels anchored near Mars, or maybe they're on Earth, dreaming of distant riches, while machines do the labor in silence. You glance down at your boots, and used. They will not touch this rock. There is no need. Your role is not to dig. Your role is to understand, to observe the shift, from human hands to guided arms, from noise to balance, from breaking the earth to dancing in the dark. You begin to drift again, quietly, past the small mining ship now finishing its task. The asteroid remains whole. It spins on. It is given a gift, but lost nothing of itself. And as you watch it fade into the distance, you wonder, if we can mine without harm, can we learn to live that way too? You leave the belt behind, its stones turning gently in their orbits, and begin to drift inward, towards something familiar. The moon rises into view, not rising like it does from Earth, but appearing in the vast dark, quite still, waiting. You approach not with awe, but with recognition. You know this world. You have seen its face through telescopes, through windows, through childhood dreams. But now you are here, close enough to see the craters up close, the powdery skin of ancient scars, the soft light that paints everything gray and gold. You land gently, your feet making no sound. There is no atmosphere to carry it, only a puff of regolith dust, fine as flour, older than anything you have walked on before. This dust has memory too. It remembers the first footprints, the slow, careful steps of astronauts. Half a century ago, they came not to take, but to try, to see, to begin. You walk where they walked, but your thoughts are not in the past. They are in the soil, because the moon is more than a mirror. It is a storehouse. Below the surface, mixed into the gray dust, are treasures more subtle than gold. You kneel and gather a handful of soil. Watch it slip through your gloved fingers. Inside this soft dust are tiny atoms of helium-3, a rare isotope, almost absent from Earth, but scattered across the moon by billions of years of solar wind. Helium-3, a fuel not yet used, but one that could power clean fusion, if we learn how. It is not toxic. It does not leave behind waste. And it lies here, waiting, like the quiet rock you met before. You stand and look across the landscape. Shadows stretch long across craters. The sun does not rise quickly here. Time moves in wide, sweeping curves. Beneath the surface, in the permanently shadowed craters near the poles, something else waits. Water, frozen for millennia, locked in the cold. Not much, but enough. Enough to drink. Enough to breathe. Enough to stay. You imagine machines arriving. Not loud, not sharp, but precise. Melting the ice gently, capturing the vapor, turning it into air and fuel. The moon would no longer be a place to visit, but a place to begin again. You walk farther, your steps light. The moon's gravity pulls you down gently, as if with care. You bounce slightly with each step, half floating, half grounded. You look up. There is no blue sky, only blackness and stars, and one small blue planet, hanging in the distance. It looks fragile from here, but small. You wonder if people looking up from Earth see opportunity when they look at the moon, or only romance. You pause beside a piece of old equipment, left behind from early missions. It is covered in dust, but still stands, silent, faithful, enduring. It reminds you, this is where space mining began. Not in the asteroid belt, not on Mars, but here, with scoops and shovels, samples and soil. Not much was taken, but something was started. You sit down on a small rise and close your eyes. There is no wind, no birds, no waves, only your breath, your pulse, and the knowledge beneath your feet. The moon is not rich in the way Earth is. No forests, no oceans, no oil or diamonds, but it holds something rarer. Silence, and the promise of a future, not built on digging deeper, but reaching farther. You open your eyes. The moon glows softly around you, lit by the curve of the sun, and in the quiet, you feel a new question begin to form. If the moon is only the beginning, then where and how do we begin to choose what comes next? You drift again, this time not toward a rock, but toward an idea. The idea has no shape, but it casts long shadows. It is made of ambition, shiny, quiet, and rising faster than rockets. You feel its presence in orbit, in the headlines, in the funding reports, in the whisper of plans written in code and contracts. You know the names. You have heard them often. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, nations, corporations, startups with starry logos, agencies with billion-dollar missions. They look toward space and see not just science, but business. Not only wonder, but wealth. You float quietly between their dreams. You hear them speak in numbers. Trillions, they say. Trillions locked inside a single asteroid. Trillions in rare metals, in water, in helium-3, in opportunity. It sounds almost unreal, but the math is not fiction. It is precise, founded in spectroscopy, density scans, and orbital calculations. A single rock, 100 meters wide, could contain more platinum than Earth has mined in all of history. And they know it. You see the ships being drawn on digital paper, autonomous mining drones, zero-gravity refineries, solar-powered collectors. Prototypes are already in labs. Launch windows already planned. Investors already watching. The race is quiet, not with flags or marches, but with data and silence. No one has won yet, but they are already building the doors and holding the keys. You float past their names, not as accusations, but as signals. They are not alone in their hunger. China has plans. So does the United States. So does the European Union. Private ventures, public consortia, defense contracts woven into exploration budgets. They are reaching for the belt, not for science alone, but for control. You hover above Earth again. It spins beneath you, wrapped in blue and cloud. Peaceful, unaware. Most people do not think about asteroid mining. They think of rent, of dinners, of gravity. But above them, The blue is thinning, and beyond it, the race has already begun. No laws define who owns an asteroid. No courts have judged a claim. No treaties have drawn lines through the void. It is still blank, still free, still dangerous. Not in its physics, but in its politics. You feel it in your chest. The old patterns. Discovery, then desire, then division. Will space follow the same story? Or can we write a new one? You imagine a future, one where the first ship returns, carrying metal from the belt. What happens next? Does the one who brings it home on the rock it came from? Does their flag matter? Their logo? Their launch pad? Or do we ask the older question, the one Earth never fully answered? Can anyone truly own what was not made by them? You breathe slowly. This is not a question with an answer tonight, but it is one that floats with you. As the moon fades behind you and Earth turns below, you begin to drift outward again, past ambition, past ownership, past the soft gleam of platinum-rich rock, towards something quieter, something deeper. A question begins to rise, gently, without urgency. If no one owns space yet, then who decides what ownership means? You float now in a space that feels both physical and philosophical. There is no boundary here, no fence, no thread drawn across the stars. Only the quiet. The stars are not divided. They are shared by light, woven together by gravity and time, untouched by lines drawn on paper. And yet, you feel the weight of the question inside you, not heavy, but dense, like a planet forming from dust. Who owns what no one has touched? The question is not new. It echoes through Earth's history, in forests claimed by explorers, in rivers renamed by settlers, in skies charted by the first pilots. But space is different. There are no people here, only rocks, only time. You drift past a large asteroid now. Its surface is smooth in places, jagged in others. It does not wear a name. It does not know it is numbered by astronomers. To itself, it simply is. You run a hand along the metal ridge, and it feels like pressing against the past, against something too ancient to care for ownership. Still, you imagine it. The first miner to land here, the first robotic drill, the first return capsule filled with samples. And then what? Does the asteroid become theirs? Does it become a product? A possession? You breathe slowly, letting the thought circle around you like orbiting dust. There are treaties, old ones, signed in Earth's political language. They say no nation may claim the moon, or any celestial body, but they are old, written before the technology to touch these rocks existed. They do not speak of companies. They do not speak of harvesting, or ownership through action. They speak of peace, and shared benefit, and noble intentions. But you know Earth. You know what happens when resources are real, when profits can be weighed. You float farther into the belt. You watch the asteroids move around the sun, each one free, and yet in someone's data set, targeted, analyzed, projected. And again, the question, can knowledge become claim? If I know this rock's contents before you do, is it mine? If I send a probe, if I leave a flag, if I touch it first, does that make it mine? Or are we only borrowing? You drift near a tiny asteroid now, barely 10 meters wide, to spin slowly, casting a long shadow against the stars. You could wrap a rope around it, anchor a ship to it, carve a name into its surface. Would that be ownership? Or just evidence of passing? Back on Earth, land has value because others want it, because it can be enclosed, because it can be used. But here, in the void, the idea of use is softer, gentler, or perhaps more dangerous, because no one is watching, and yet everything out here is shared. The sunlight that warms your suit, no one owns it. The gravity that binds you to this orbit, no one can fence it off. Even the metal inside this rock was forged in stars that belonged to no one. You rest now, seated on the edge of the asteroid, legs dangling in zero gravity, as if sitting on the edge of a quiet question. You close your eyes. If a tree falls in a forest where no one lives, does it belong to anyone? If a rock spins in the dark for 4 billion years, is it still a thing that can be owned? You think of future explorers, future miners, future courts, and you wonder, will they ask permission of the stars? Or only forgiveness? The belt turns with you. Time moves on, and you breathe in the silence. A silence not of emptiness, but of waiting, as if the rocks themselves are asking us to answer with care. You stand again. The asteroid spins gently beneath you, and somewhere beyond the next turn of your orbit, you sense something shimmering. Not just rock, but fine, precious dust. Gold-laced particles scattered across stone. You drift toward it, and as you float, you feel a new question form, the soft one, spoken only inside your thoughts. If dust can be worth more than cities, then what is the true cost of touching it? You drift beside a medium-sized asteroid now. Not the biggest, not the brightest, but quietly remarkable. Its surface is covered in something soft, not smooth like water-polished stone, but textured like ash that never burned. Regular, powdered rock, ground down by time, by collisions, by quiet tumbling through millennia. It is light, loose, delicate in a way Earth dust never is. You reach out your gloved hand. Let your fingers sink gently into it. The particles scatter. Some rise slowly into space, never to return. Others cling to your glove, like tiny secrets. This dust is not ordinary. Within it hides platinum, rare earth metals used in computers, satellites, medical equipment. On Earth, one handful of this could be worth millions. It could fund laboratories, buy homes, shift economies. But here, it floats. It carries no weight in the void. No price tag follows it. Only potential. You scoop more of it into your palm, watch it shimmer faintly in the reflected sunlight. Not because it sparkles, but because your mind makes it shine. Value is a story we tell about things. On Earth, we dig mountains to find this. We move rivers. We fight. But here, it simply exists. You breathe slowly, your visor fogging slightly from the warmth inside your suit. Outside, everything remains cold. Still, you think of future miners again. Their ships orbiting silently, their tools sifting this dust grain by grain. What will they see? Will they see the metals? The price? The contracts? Or will they see time itself? Each grain in your glove took billions of years to form. It was shaped by explosions, by silence, by gravitational tides. And yet we call it a resource. You press your fingers together, feeling the faint resistance of the dust between them. It is soft, almost weightless, and impossibly expensive. You wonder what happens to value out here. On Earth, weight determines price. Rarity determines demand. But in space, everything is rare. And weight means fuel, not fortune. You close your hand gently. You are holding what might one day buy spacecraft or sustain colonies. And yet you are also holding something far older than any economy. You feel the contradiction settle in beside you. Comfortable, unresolved, like dust itself. You imagine this dust fueling the next generation of satellites, powering green tech, fulfilling Earth's hunger, without scarring its surface. It sounds noble, even beautiful, but then you wonder, how much will be enough? If one asteroid holds trillions, will we stop there? Or will we begin to see every rock as an account waiting to be emptied? You let the dust slip from your glove. Watch it fall upward. No down here, just movement. Some grains scatter into the void. Others drift toward the sun. None of them care about what they are worth. Only we do. You rise from the asteroid's surface. The gravity here is so weak, you barely had to push. You float again. Not away, but upward. into thought. Behind you, the dust settles again, quiet, undisturbed. You imagine a future where humanity mines responsibly, where we gather only what we need and leave the rest in peace. But the voice in your head whispers, what if we cannot stop? What if dust becomes desire? You feel the weight of that question, heavier than the asteroid beneath you. You breathe slowly, let it pass. And as you float forward, past a shimmering trail of dust, a quieter thought emerges from the silence. What if the most valuable thing out here is not the metal we take, but the restraint we choose? And somewhere ahead, beyond the next slow orbit, you sense a shift. You are no longer thinking of wealth. You are beginning to think of survival, a breath of water, of staying, of what you truly need, to remain among the stars. You drift farther into the belt, but you are no longer searching for treasure. You are searching for something simpler, something lighter than gold, but heavier with meaning. You are searching for water. It is strange to think of water as rare, when on Earth it falls from the sky, fills oceans, moves rivers. But here, in space, a drop can be everything. You pass a dark, quiet asteroid, its surface riddled with shadowed grooves. It looks lifeless, and it is, but not empty. Inside, buried beneath layers of dust and stone, are molecules of frozen water, locked there for billions of years, untouched by warmth, waiting. You glide close, press your palm gently against its surface. It is colder than anything on Earth. So cold, it feels like time itself has frozen. You imagine what a simple melt could mean, not for profit, but for presence. Because water in space is more than something to drink. It is breath. It is movement. It is power. Water, when broken apart, becomes oxygen and hydrogen. Oxygen to breathe, hydrogen to burn. Together, rocket fuel. You think of future travelers, orbiting distant moons, living in floating stations. They will not bring oceans with them. They will need to find them. And perhaps, this asteroid is the oasis. Not with lakes, not with rain, but with tiny pockets of ice, tucked away like ancient seeds. In the dark, you close your eyes. Picture the future. A small crew, a cold rock, a machine gently humming, melting ice grain by grain, steam captured, water filtered. So, you see them sharing it carefully, pouring it slowly. No drops wasted, each one earned. No metal can replace that. No gold bar can match the sound of a cup filling quietly in low gravity. You float on, past more rocks, some dry as bone, others glinting with promise. You realize, this belt is not just a vault of riches. It is a pantry, a well, a bridge between isolation and survival. And then your thoughts turn deeper, from survival to balance. Because even water, if taken too fast, can disappear. Some asteroids may hold only small reserves, enough for one journey, not for many. And if we mine them for ice, the way we've mined Earth for oil, will we find ourselves stranded in a system grown dry? You drift quietly. A thin mist of icy particles swirls nearby, remnants of a collision long ago. You move through them, as though walking through breath, and you begin to ask, what if the future of space travel does not depend on rare metals, but on gentle harvesting? On learning to live from rock to rock, without exhausting them? A kind of space nomadism, sustainable, intentional. You imagine solar panels unfolding like wings, machines filtering moisture from dust, greenhouses growing from regolith, roots curling into crushed basalt, under artificial sun. Picture life, not imported, but coaxed gently into being. From what is already here, a quiet kind of colonization, one that listens first. And suddenly, the word mining begins to feel heavier, as if it no longer fits. Because this is not just extraction. It is relationship between traveler and stone, between machine and molecule, between survival and restraint. You remember the gold you let slip through your glove, how light it felt, how easily it scattered. But now you think of water, how it clings, how it soaks, how it makes everything possible. You turn back toward the asteroid with ice, and for a moment, it looks like a kind of wellspring. Not beautiful, not glowing, just necessary. And in this moment, you begin to understand the difference between value and need. Gold can build wealth, but water builds time. It lets you stay. You let that thought settle. Let it fill your chest, your mind, your orbit. And as you drift forward again, deeper into the possibilities of life beyond Earth, you begin to ask a softer, more lasting question. What else might we grow from rock and silence if we choose not just to take, but to build? You drift now with new vision, not just eyes for the stars, but eyes for what could grow between them. The asteroids no longer feel like obstacles, no longer like resources to strip clean, but they feel like building blocks, foundations. You picture a small station, nestled in the hollow of a cratered rock, not glowing with gold, but warm with light from within. Solar panels stretch like petals toward the faraway sun. Inside, people, not many, just enough to begin. Engineers, scientists, gardeners, the child or the learning to walk in fractional gravity, chasing floating drops of water, drawing asteroids in colored pencil. You imagine them building not cities, but shelters, domes with windows made from melted regolith, walls formed from compressed dust, strengthened with carbon grown from air. No glass shipped from Earth, no concrete trucks in orbit, only what the rock gives, and what patience can shape. You float quietly beside such a dream, imagining the smell of plants in a closed-loop greenhouse, tomatoes growing in low gravity, their vines curling in slow spirals, basil, their roots not in soil, but in powdered asteroid, carefully treated, nourished by filtered water, pulled from ice deep inside the rock. You imagine bees, tiny robots perhaps, buzzing in silence, carrying pollen from bloom to bloom, and humans, learning again how to tend, not just machines, but life. You drift gently past a cluster of small asteroids, and they begin to look like a neighborhood, spread out across space, linked by communication, shared knowledge, slow trade. One rock houses a lab, another grows food, another refines metals, and yet another simply observes. A new kind of village, where distance means time, not separation, where silence is not absence, but space to think. You think of what must be learned, how to build with no gravity, how to grow without soil, how to raise children without a sky. You picture playgrounds made from tethered cords, where swings never fall, but circle slowly like moons. You imagine stories told beneath stars, that never rise, because they are already everywhere. And in this quiet imagining, a new meaning for mining begins to form. Not taking, but weaving. Not removing, but reshaping. Mining not just for materials, but for meaning, for the pieces of a self-sustaining life. Beyond the gravity well, you float on, past a metallic asteroid glinting faintly, and picture its metals turned into supports, into wiring, into frames for growing things. The garden grows in your mind, a living space inside a once dead rock. And you ask, what if mining could become creation? What if it begins with drills, but ends with doors? What if the belt, so long seen as silent, becomes the cradle of a new kind of home? Not one forced into being, but coaxed, carefully, gently, with design guided by balance, not only ambition. You imagine elders telling children, we built our world from stone and dust, and we gave more than we took. And the children nod, because they can feel the difference. In the quiet air they breathe, they know this world is borrowed and cared for. You hover still, your body calm, your breath slow in the suit. This vision of gardens blooming from mined rock, of homes made from silence, it does not feel impossible. It feels patient. And as you begin to move again, your body turning gently between stars, a thought floats beside you. Perhaps the truest wealth out here is not what we extract, but what we plant. Not what we carry home, but what we choose to grow in the spaces between the stones.